right, thank y'all.
It was.
Again, my name is Harveson. I'm the director of the Meadows Research Institute and associate provost of research and development at Colorado State University. Thank you again for being here for Water Desert 2026. Again, we've come a long way in a short amount of time that we couldn't do without our sponsors. There's a lot of activities as you can see. The fact that we had the booths of our university center yesterday, not because of the heat, because of space. We've actually increased the number of participants at these for today to another 100 from yesterday. So maybe actually more than that.
Great.
So thank you again, sponsors, for everything you've done to help us get to this point. So if y'all feel like it's our other points. And again, our partners, there's a wonderful community of conservation partners in far west Texas. Really want to take care of the very special place that we live. That starts at the university, but goes into state federal agencies as well as many nonprofits that call West Texas home. So thank you to them.
So.
I know other things like $30, but I've been here 28 years. And over the years, I've worn a lot of hats. And most recently, that as associate provost of research. One of the things that I do is to help develop new programs. And the whole philosophy behind that is universities aren't just a place of higher education where we train students to be professionals as productive members of society. But universities are also meant to be a hub of innovation and research. In my opinion, for larger universities, that's easier. But for small universities like Sol Ross, it's a little bit more difficult. Because you're basically finding our niche where we can serve our community the best. At Sol Ross State University, you do have several centers of excellence that I'm going to brag on a little bit. That, of course, is the Center for Big Bend Studies, an archaeological group that's been in place for over 35 years. The Museum of Big Bend, which is hosting us tonight for our social, and the Meadows Research Institute that started in 2007. We proudly welcome the Meadows Research Institute for West Texas Water as the new center of excellence at Colorado State University. Typically, it takes years, sometimes decades, to become established, trust, and produce results that are relevant. But with the support of the Meadows Foundation and the overwhelming success of this conference, that timeline had accelerated. So a big shout out to our friends at the Meadows Foundation for endowing the new institute. And I also want to thank y'all because this is a signature conference that our institute is going to move forward in future years. And your participation, your attendance, your engagement, the videos that we're going to put online, all these kind of things, just because of y'all, because y'all have helped prioritize waters in the desert as a priority. So with that, let me introduce our first speaker, someone I very much admire. Over the last 4 years, I've had the pleasure of spending some time in Paul Foster. And during those visits, I've identified some of the distinguishing characteristics that have made him successful. This isn't my opinion, though. There are 4 traits and obviously characterize integrity, leadership, philanthropy, and service. I encourage each of y'all to read his biography. It's on the website for the conference. Let me get his highlights. Again, I'm all to get the highlights. It's a lot of really good stuff there. Paul Foster is founder and chief executive officer of Franklin Mountain Investment, LLC, and its affiliated companies. Those affiliates include investments in oil and gas, private equity, real estate, construction, aviation, sports, restaurants, medical devices, and many other businesses. He's very diverse. For me, as a wildlife professional, how I know him is really as the chairman of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Commission. That is not something that lands in your lap. That is something that is earned. He also serves as the board of trustees on the Baylor College of Medicine, He's on the executive committee of the Orderplex Regional Economic Alliance, so that spans southeastern New Mexico, El Paso area, and into Juarez. Previously, Mr. Foster has served as chairman of ERCOT, vice chairman and chairman of UT Board of Regents, University of Texas, as a board member of the University of Texas Lands Advisory Board, and Texas Higher Education Coordinator. Mr. Foster and his wife Alejandra de la Vega Foster are philanthropists and major supporters of the Orderplex region. They own several sports teams that really is about giving more than anything and providing community opportunities. Since the early 2000s, Mr. Foster has been a leading catalyst in revitalization of downtown El Paso. And if you haven't been to downtown El Paso, I encourage you all to know it is a wonderful place. It's been my anniversary there with my wife a couple of years ago, and we are patrons at that region. He owns the Plaza Pioneer Farm, something over almost 100-year-old building that has been refurbished and several restaurants in it. He is a proud alumni of Baylor University and acknowledged as the University Distinguished Alumni Award, but also the Texas Business Hall of Fame. And in 2007 and 2013, he was presented with the city of El Paso's highest honor, the Conquistador. For us in this room, Mr. Foster is also a landowner. He takes the stewardship of land and water very seriously. So please welcome Mr. Foster, please.
Thank you, Dr. Harveson. And good morning to all of you. I appreciate all of you being here, and for being here deliberately. It's anyone who shows up to talk about water in West Texas. It's not here by accident. You're here, you're either deeply committed or you've made some questionable life choices. I can account myself in both categories. I want to thank the organizers here at the Water in the Desert Conference for bringing this entire group together. It's impressive that this many people are so interested, and it just goes to show you how vital and how important this topic is. There's nothing easy about convening landowners, scientists, conservationists, water managers in West Texas all on the same road, and then asking them to agree. I want to recognize and thank the Meadows Research Institute for West Texas Water at Solomons, made possible through the Meadows Foundation's extraordinary commitment to this region and to the water in our world. Their investment establishing an endowment providing multi-year operation support reflects a long-term belief in collaboration and practical science-based solutions for water in West Texas. I'm honored to be with you today, not just as chairman of Texas Parks and Wildlife, but as a fellow landowner and neighbor. I own the KC Ranch and the Vice Mountain Ranch, both nearby. And like many of you, I don't just care about this place, I'm invested in it. Literally, yes, for generation. I'm a Texan. I was born a couple hundred miles up the road from here in Snyder. I spent my early years in Lovington, New Mexico. After graduating from Baylor, I've lived most of my life in Texas, and I'm fairly certain I'll be a Texan the rest of the way down, the rest of the way I walk probably. I care deeply about this state, especially where I live, West Texas. You guys think you're in West Texas, but El Paso is way west here. But at the end of the day, we're all part of something very unique and special, collectively called West Texas. Before I talk about my ranches and my water, I want to add this this fight. I'm speaking today solely as Paul Foster. My views should not be interpreted as those of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Commission or of the state of Texas. These are my own personal views. And to say it another way, I'm Paul Foster and I approve this message.
What you see?
I've been fortunate in business, and that's allowed me to own ranches. And owning these ranches has taught me a few things. No amount of money has ever produced water where geology would have done that. And trust me, if that were possible, someone would have done it by now. Probably one of you in this room. This conference is about one spring, one aquifer, or even one issue. It's about water in the desert, most of it underground, much of it unseen, and all of it connected in ways we're still working to understand. That includes our rivers, our rangelands, our wildlife, our communities, and the growing demands placed on a very complex system, one that was never simple to begin with. When I purchased the KC Ranch just west of Pomeroy, one of the first things I did was commission a groundwater study. The ranch sits on or near numerous aquifers and springs, and I didn't just want to know how much water might be under the ranch. I wanted to know where it went. I wanted to know how it interacted with other aquifers and springs, and who else depended on it. This is a slide from that water study. It shows the 9 wells on KC and the 9 springs. And I know it's too far away for you to see, but it goes to demonstrate just how complex and interesting the whole water network is in this region. Our ranch splits almost equally between Reeves and Jeff Davis counties to kind of give you a perspective of where it is. We're just west of Valmaraic. At one time, those springs discharged more than 30,000 acre-feet of water per year. That doesn't come from the backyard aquifer. That comes from a regional system. And obviously, I don't know where all that water comes from, but I want to learn more about where it originates, how it flows, and how it communicates and impacts water resources in neighboring ranches and municipalities. That study also made one thing very clear to me. Water doesn't respect ownership the way we might like it to. It moves, it connects, it disappears. And decisions made in one place can have significant consequences somewhere else. For instance, the study showed that our KC springs are small and largely separate from many of the deeper aquifers. But the deeper aquifers, the Capitan and the Edwards Trinity, have complex connections through faults and structural deformations. So again, where does all that water go? And who else is it impact? One of the more interesting things I learned, and again, I'm not a water expert, was that arbors or dye placed in our springs and aquifers when we did this study showed up many miles away. Because we're so close to San Solomon Springs, as you can see on this slide, some of these testing isotopes or markers were detected in Valmaraic Lake. I also learned that through carbon-14 dating, we could determine the apparent age of water. And some of the water under and near my ranch is over 35,000 years old. If you think about that just reminds us that the decisions we make about water today have very long-lasting impacts. Obviously, it means those decisions that we're making about water that fell as rain long before Texas even existed. And by the way, much of that water is perfectly clear and just incredibly fresh, and it's been down there for 35,000 years. I wish I aged that water.
Yeah.
When I bought the ranch, I was aware that the previous owner of the ranch had commissioned a comprehensive study and had determined that substantial marketable quantities of water could be produced on the ranch and sold in commercial quantities. So as I mentioned before, I commissioned another study, not to determine how much water was there, but to determine how all the aquifers and springs were interconnected. I wanted to understand what the impacts would be if I decided to produce large volumes of water. How would it impact my neighbors? How would it impact nearby springs? Specifically, I wanted to know whether I could harm or impact St. Solomon Springs at Lake Bethlehem. I hadn't bought the ranch for the purpose of making money off the water underground, although I have to tell you, it's a very intriguing idea. I bought the ranch because I love the land and the wildlife and the beauty and the whole ranching experience. So the conclusion I reached was that for me, it was much better not to pump that water. I've reached that same conclusion with the Glass Mountain Ranch just east of here. This wasn't a casual choice. It certainly wasn't necessarily an easy one, especially coming from someone who spent a career in the oil and gas business. I know very well what water's worth and how much it can be consumed, not only by the oil and gas industry, but by data centers and other industrial installations, not to speak of municipalities all over West Texas. But I came to a simple conclusion. As the owner of 55,000 acres of West Texas ranch land, I have a responsibility not only to my neighbors, but to the future. That may not be the right decision for every landowner. After all, it's their land. They can do what they want. But for me, it was the right decision, and I believe it was a prudent one for the water for my ranches. That idea, responsibility, is really what brings us together today. At Texas Parks and Wildlife, we see every day that conservation in Texas only works when landowners are part of the solution. That's exactly what is happening here, and I'm grateful to be part of it. The work that was done at this conference impresses me because it isn't about regulation for regulation's sake, and it is about stopping progress. It's about understanding the system well enough to live in it. The aquifers, the springs, the rivers, the land, they're all connected. Ignoring that reality doesn't preserve anything. It just causes consequences. What gives me real optimism is that you guys aren't waiting for a crisis to force cooperation. It's happening now. You're choosing data over guesswork and long-term thinking over short-term fixes. That's rare and it's impressive. And I'm proud to be a very small part of it. And now I'm going to put my Parks and Wildlife hat on for just a minute. The department continues to be a strong partner in the Trans-Pecos through our Landowner Incentive Program, funding 19,000 acres of habitat work. It impacted creeks and cienagas, stream corridors, and riparian restoration, and the Texas Farm and Ranch Lands Conservation Program, conserving habitats on over 21,000 acres of private lands in the region. Additionally, our science team, working with many partners, continues to conduct riverscape mapping and modeling groundwater, spring, and river flows. Another excellent development happening on the other side of the state is the deposit by TPWD of 611 acre-feet of Natchez River Basin water into the Texas Water Trust. This water will be protected in perpetuity for environmental flow. It's a great commitment by the department, and I hope there will be many more to come. Among others, exciting developments at Parks and Wildlife, because of the Centennial Fund and with the benefit of the sporting and sales tax that have been available to us, we're working simultaneously on opening 4 new state parks over the next few years. One of those, thanks largely to the Moody Foundation, is Silver Lake State Park in Edwards and Kenny counties, which is over 54,000 acres with a fabulous lake west fork of the Oasis River. Prior to this latest effort, it had been 25 years since we opened a new state park in Texas. And we will not stop with the opening of these 4 parks. We're actively working to secure other opportunities all around the state, and it's a very exciting time. Texas Parks is on. So again, I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you for taking the long view on this very important issue, and thank you for a commitment to this work.